Let me make a clarification. First off, you can't believe everything that's in the newspaper and take it as gospel because it's just not true. And in fact, the figures, Mr. Gummy fired off a letter, an email to Ms. Roberts, who I guess gave this information to the writer of this story. New Smyrna Beach's budget last year, the total budget was over $55 million. The attorney's budget was $400,000. That is less than 1% of the total budget. And when you even break it down to the operating budget, which was just over $18 million, and this year it's going to be $14 million, and the amount of money we're going to spend for the general, for the overall budget is going to be $44 million. So you'll see there's an $11 million decrease from last year to this year. And Mr. Gummy's is only about less than 1.7% of that figure. So you don't take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. It just isn't true. You have to do your own due diligence. And when you're out there looking at your candidates, do your own research. Make sure you look at each of our qualifications. Look at our websites. Ask us questions. Go back and look at my record. To say that I was always on a 3-2 losing vote is just not true. There are certain things you have to stand up as a principal in government. You have to stand up and say, I'm either going to let my principle count and vote that way, or you're going to go along with the crowd. Well, I'd rather make my principle count every now and then to let people know exactly where I stand on issues than just say, let's go along with the crowd. So, you know, you have to be careful how you look at some of these, questions are framed.
Go back to the question again. I don't know if it's the city attorney or...
The point I was trying to make is not, this really has nothing to do with Mr. Gummy. What I'm talking about is when the good times were here, the housing market, you could get your house for $300,000. I mean, you had all these second loans coming in. How long has New Smyrna and some of these other communities had reserves to get them through, where they have to go through these rollback rates? I'm going to get into that, but is it not true that management rewards itself by saying we have to be higher than them? If they're higher and they're the ones that are pushing us into elective office, and is that not the pattern here in this county for too long?
Well, the bottom line, whether it's the county, the state, or any municipality, leadership always starts at the top. And you have to look at your elected officials, you know, your city manager, your county manager. You make the tough decisions, you know. It's like Jim referred to in 2004, okay, they were in a tough place. They had to make that decision then, but still in 2012, we still have the decision of an attorney making over $200,000 with a $400,000, $500,000 golden parachute. So yeah, it's you know, you have to stand by your vote, and sometimes you do make the tough choices. I understand that, but the buck starts and stops with leadership.
I'm going to take another question and get away from this room.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Robert Reese, New Smyrna Beach. Government cannot operate as a business because we cannot sustain the benefits that they give corporate. They go bankrupt.
I think what he's saying is we don't buy the CEO concept that the city is like a big company. What do you guys think of that?
Well, first of all, there's a philosophy out there that I've heard it said many times. If it's in the yellow pages, government shouldn't be involved in it. In other words, let's let private industry do it. But as a small business owner, and when we talk about pensions, we talk about all these numbers, but you know how we do it in the real world? When the economy turned and it went down, the first thing we did in our small business, we consolidated, we got rid of overhead, we brought employees inside, and the first thing my husband did years ago was do away completely 100% with our own 100% 401k. Our retirement plan was the first one that went. So I understand what you do and the decisions you make. Government should be just like the rest of us, small business owners. They're not above it, they're not below it, but there's sometimes, in tough times, you make the tough decisions to keep your doors open, to keep your employees hired, and to do the right thing. So there's tough decisions that have to be made without excuse.
Jim?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we have looked at over the years in New Smyrna Beach to privatize those businesses that give it to those private businesses that government just doesn't do as efficiently and as well. We've gone to privatized our sanitation department. We've privatized most of our lawn maintenance. It's done on all throughout our cities. We've recently privatized out at our ball fields. We have now a firm that does the spraying of chemicals out there. You know, you look at these things and you realize the savings. I think we've realized over $30,000 just on the chemical spraying out of the ball field by going to a private entity. And so, yeah, you have to take a look at all these things. But it should be management, and it should be directed by the council to look at these things and then bring it back to the council for recommendations, and then the council should make that decision.
Mr. Kennedy?
Well, I'm still trying to wrap my arms around the question, but I think what you're looking for is that government's not a business. It's not. But I think government can oftentimes look at business principles in various aspects of it. The cost-saving measures of outsourcing and that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not a business, because I think what you said was it doesn't have the option of going out of business. So if it fails, ultimately the taxpayer would have to support that business. Whereas if a business is failing, we shut it down, we walk away, and it's gone. Governments don't have that option, and that's the truth.
Got time for one more? Anybody?
Thank you. I'm Paul Weiss. I live in unincorporated Volusia County. So I have sympathy for my friends from Oak Hill. But there is a part of this district that is unincorporated. And years past, we had an advisory council that would advise the county council. I don't know how that got taken away or what happened. The county decided to cut our fire protection by a third. What do you think? What are you going to do for unincorporated Volusia County?
That is your territory. Unincorporated Volusia County is your key area.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, there's a number of cities in our district. Unincorporated is almost, you can look at that as a city in and of itself. So not only on the county council are you part of the cities, but you have its own. The county has its own city, the unincorporated. I would treat them no differently than the others. My personal feeling is that there's often times where unincorporated areas should seriously consider annexation.
That's true.
Look at Oak Hill, for example, or in the area of Oak Hill, if you're outside of Oak Hill. You're paying an additional 3.2 mils just to cover your fire. The South Beach, do you realize the South Beach of New, and hey, I don't live in those areas, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but I think this is the consideration, is that New Smyrna Beach has one of the lowest millage rates in the county, if not, well, it's almost the lowest. Why would you pay county rates and then live just a block down the street? It just makes sense. Now, you don't have to. I wouldn't make you. I'm just saying, look at these things. Then you ask New Smyrna Beach and your neighboring cities to cover, in joint planning agreements, to cover you and help you, but there's no payback. I think if those unincorporated areas would seriously consider, and if it works, annexation, you would enjoy benefits of being inside your cities. Again, I wouldn't make you do it, but it would certainly be something I would look at. It would improve your quality of life, your services, and it would lower your taxes.